B&B spoilers. Will Eric Forrester take RJ with him to Katie's company? Eric Forrester is up to no good on The Bold and the Beautiful. Is he going to take his grandson RJ Forrester over to the wrong side of the tracks too? Ridge Forrester is paying the ultimate price for forcing his father into retirement, and he doesn't even know it yet. In fact, Eric could be turning RJ against him too. Here's what's coming up next on B&B. Spoilers down below. Over the years, Eric Forrester, John McCook, has always had a close bond with his grandson RJ Forrester, Brian Nicoletti. Now that RJ has returned home, his father Ridge is eager to get him back to work at Forrester Creations. However, if RJ wants to work with his grandfather Eric, he is going to have to go across town to Katie Spencer's, Heather Tom, new company Logan. Eric's new design job. It's still top secret, but Eric Forrester has decided to go work for his son's rivals, Katie and Bill Spencer, Don Diamant, at their new fashion company. When Ridge finds out about his father's betrayal, you know what is going to hit the fan. But if Ridge finds out that Eric took RJ to work with him at Logan, a war will erupt. Right now, Bill and Katie's son, Will Spencer Jr., Crew Morrow, is still working for Ridge at Forrester Creations, despite the obvious conflict of interests. Ridge is loving the fact that Dollar Bill's son is his employee. Wouldn't it be ironic if Ridge's son went to go work for Dollar Bill? Sparks are flying at Forrester. The Bold and the Beautiful spoilers have been hinting that RJ Forrester has a huge crush on his fake cousin Electra. The fact that she has a boyfriend doesn't seem to bother him. If RJ falls for Electra Forrester, Linnea Grace, then the odds of him leaving FC anytime soon are slim to none. Do you think that Eric will convince RJ to go with him to the new fashion company? Or will he turn his grandpa down so he can hang out with Electra at FC? The fashion world of Los Angeles is trembling. For decades, the name Eric Forrester has been synonymous with the grace, elegance, and power of Forrester Creations. But today, fans of The Bold and the Beautiful B&B are waking up to a reality that feels like a heartbreak. The patriarch is officially moving on. As Eric prepares to launch a new era at Katie Logan's fledgling fashion house, Logan, a burning question is tearing the Forrester family and the fanbase apart. Will Eric take RJ Forrester with him? The Great Betrayal. Why Eric left his empire. The sad news isn't just about a job change. It's about a legacy in ruins. Eric Forrester, played by the legendary John McCook, didn't just walk away. He was essentially shown the door. After months of feeling sidelined by his son, Ridge Forrester, and Brooke Logan, Eric's resentment reached a boiling point. Ridge's push for Eric to enjoy his retirement was perceived by the master designer as a vote of no confidence. To Eric, fashion isn't a job, it's his lifeblood. When Katie Logan approached him with the opportunity to be the lead designer for her new venture, it wasn't just a business deal, it was a lifeline. Forrester Creations is my legacy, but being pushed into retirement was never my choice, Eric recently declared. Now, with a formal contract being drafted through Bill Spencer, the stage is set for a professional war that will pit father against son. But a general needs a lieutenant, and Eric has his sights set on the golden boy. RJ Forrester, caught between two worlds. The return of RJ Forrester, now played by Brian Nicoletti, has added a volatile layer to this family drama. Having just returned from his world travels, RJ is the ultimate bridge character. He is a Forrester by blood and a Logan by birth. While Brooke is currently pleading with RJ to stay at Forrester Creations to help Ridge fill the massive void left by Eric, the young designer's heart might be elsewhere. The case for RJ joining Eric at Logan. The grandfather-grandson bond. Before his departure, RJ was Eric's right-hand man, assisting him with his final legacy collection. Eric trusts RJ's vision more than anyone else's in the building. A fresh start. RJ has always been an influencer and a modern thinker. Katie's company is being branded as the antithesis of the old guard. For a young creator, the freedom of a startup might be more alluring than the corporate stifling of Forrester Creations. The spite factor. If Eric truly wants to teach Ridge and Brooke a lesson, taking their golden child with him would be the ultimate power move. The case for staying at Forrester. Brooke's influence. Brooke is desperate to keep her family together. She views Eric's move to Katie's company as a personal betrayal. She will likely use every emotional lever she has to keep RJ by Ridge's side. The Marone identity. In a recent shocking moment, RJ pointed out that Ridge and his siblings are biologically Marones, not Forresters. By staying at Forrester, RJ could claim he is the only true Forrester designer left to protect the name. The Katie Logan factor, a new powerhouse. Katie Logan is no longer the little sister lurking in the shadows. By securing Eric Forrester, she has achieved the impossible. However, the stress of the secret is already taking a toll. Both Katie and Eric have significant health histories. Eric with his recent near-death scare, and Katie with her heart transplant history. Insiders suggest that the pressure of launching Logan, while keeping it a secret from Brooke and Ridge, could lead to a medical emergency. If Eric takes RJ with him, the workload might be shared, but the emotional fallout could be fatal. The brewing rivalry, RJ versus Will Spencer. If RJ does join Eric at Katie's company, he won't just be facing off against his father. He'll be in the middle of a generational clash with Will Spencer. Will is already protective of his mother's venture and is suspicious of any Forresters entering the fold. Adding fuel to the fire is Electra Forrester. With sparks flying between RJ and Electra, who is currently seeing Will, the professional rivalry between Logan and Forrester is about to become deeply personal. What happens next? As we move into the final days of January 2026, the tension is at an all-time high. Spoilers suggest that Ridge and Brooke are on the verge of unmasking the mystery designer at Katie's firm. When they walk in and see Eric and potentially RJ sitting at the drafting table, the explosion will be felt across all of Los Angeles. Is Eric being whiny, as some fans claim? Or is he a lion reclaiming his throne? One thing is certain. The today very sad news of Eric's departure is just the beginning of a story that will change the landscape of the bold and the beautiful forever. The fashion world of Los Angeles is trembling. For decades, the name Eric Forrester has been synonymous with the grace, elegance, and power of Forrester Creations. But today, fans of the bold and the beautiful B&B are waking up to a reality that feels like a heartbreak. The patriarch is officially moving on. As Eric prepares to launch a new era at Katie Logan's fledgling fashion house, Logan, a burning question is tearing the Forrester family and the fan base apart. Will Eric take RJ Forrester with him? The great betrayal. Why Eric left his empire. The sad news isn't just about a job change, it's about a legacy in ruins. Eric Forrester, played by the legendary John McCook, didn't just walk away, he was essentially shown the door. After months of feeling sidelined by his son, Ridge Forrester and Brooke Logan, Eric's resentment and the beautiful news lands with a heavy heart, because it centers on a question that could quietly, but permanently, change the Forrester family. Is Eric Forrester preparing to take RJ with him to Katie Logan's company, leaving Forrester Creations behind? At first glance, it may sound like a strategic business shift. But beneath the surface, this possibility carries emotional weight, unresolved grief, and a painful sense of finality that longtime fans can't ignore. If this move happens, it wouldn't just be about business. It would be about legacy, loss, and a grandfather making one last stand for the future he believes in. A storm brewing behind Eric's calm smile. Eric Forrester has always been the quiet backbone of B&B. Even when chaos swirled around him, Ridge's impulsive decisions, Brooke's heartbreaks, Steffi's battles, Eric remained the symbol of stability. But lately, something feels different. Eric has been watching, listening, and most importantly, hurting. For months, he's witnessed his legacy being chipped away. Ridge's ego-driven choices, power struggles that ignore the values Eric built Forrester Creations on. And perhaps most painful of all, RJ being sidelined, treated as an afterthought rather than the next true heir. Eric may not say it out loud, but his actions suggest a heartbreaking realization. Forrester Creations may no longer be a safe place for RJ to grow. RJ Forrester, the heir who keeps being overlooked. RJ Forrester isn't just another Forrester, he's Eric's hope. RJ represents creativity without cruelty, passion without power hunger. He embodies everything Eric once believed the company should stand for. Yet time and again, RJ has been pushed aside while louder, more aggressive voices dominate the room. That hurts Eric more than anyone knows. Eric sees himself in RJ not just as a designer, but as a dreamer. And lately, Eric seems to be asking himself a devastating question. If my own company won't protect my grandson's future, should I? Katie Logan's company, a quiet escape or a new beginning. This is where Katie Logan enters the picture, and why today's news feels so sad. Katie's company isn't driven by ego or constant warfare. It's calm, focused, ethical, a place where talent is nurtured, not exploited. And Eric knows it. Katie has always respected Eric, not just as a designer, but as a man. She listens. She values wisdom over dominance. And crucially, she would value RJ. If Eric were to take RJ with him to Katie's company, it wouldn't be an act of rebellion. It would be an act of protection. But protection comes at a cost. The heartbreaking meaning behind this possible move. If Eric walks away from Forrester Creations, even partially, it sends a devastating message. That the house he built no longer feels like home. That his voice no longer carries weight. That his own family no longer honors his vision. And if RJ goes with him, that would confirm something even sadder. Eric has lost faith in Ridge. For a father, that's not just disappointing, it's shattering. Ridge Forrester, the son who may push Eric too far. Ridge has always believed he knows best. He's confident, commanding, and often blind to the emotional fallout of his decisions. But this time, his arrogance may cost him more than he realizes. Eric has supported Ridge through countless mistakes. He's defended him when others wouldn't. But watching Ridge marginalize RJ could be the final straw. If Eric takes RJ to Katie's company, it will be a silent but powerful statement. You don't deserve him. And Ridge may not realize what he's lost until it's far too late. RJ's inner conflict, loyalty versus self-worth. For RJ, this potential move would be heartbreaking in its own way. Forrester Creations is his birthright. It's where his name comes from. Leaving, even temporarily, would feel like admitting defeat. Yet, staying in a place where he isn't valued could slowly destroy his confidence. Eric knows this. That's why this decision hurts so deeply. Taking RJ with him wouldn't be about escape. It would be about giving RJ permission to choose himself, even if it means walking away from the family empire. Why this feels like Eric's final act. There's an unspoken sadness hanging over Eric lately, a sense that he's putting things in order, choosing carefully, protecting what matters most. Fans can't help but wonder, is this Eric's final lesson to the Forresters? If he does take RJ to Katie's company, it may be Eric's last attempt to shape the future before stepping aside for good. A final reminder that legacy isn't about control, it's about care. And that realization is what makes today's news so heartbreaking. Katie Logan's role, a safe harbor in the storm. Katie may not even realize the magnitude of what Eric is considering. To her, this could feel like collaboration. To Eric, it would be sanctuary. Katie represents something Forrester Creations has lost: balance. By welcoming RJ, she wouldn't be stealing from the Forresters. She'd be preserving their soul. And that irony is devastating. The fallout could be permanent. If this move happens, the consequences will ripple through B&B. Ridge could see it as betrayal. Brooke could be torn between loyalty and heartbreak. Steffi might view it as a declaration of war. And Forrester Creations could lose its moral compass forever. Most tragically, the family may never fully heal. A very sad question with no easy answer. So will Eric Forrester take RJ with him to Katie's company? Right now, it feels heartbreakingly possible. Not because Eric wants to leave, but because he may feel he has no other choice. This isn't about ambition. It isn't about revenge. It's about a grandfather choosing love over legacy and paying the emotional price for it. As the bold and the beautiful moves forward, one thing is clear. If Eric walks away with RJ by his side, it won't be a victory. It will be a quiet tragedy that reshapes the Forrester family forever. There's an unspoken sadness hanging over Eric lately, a sense that he's putting things in order, choosing carefully, protecting what matters most. Fans can't help but wonder, is this Eric's final lesson to the Forresters? If he does take RJ to Katie's company, it may be Eric's last attempt to shape the future before stepping aside for good. A final reminder that legacy isn't about control, it's about care. And that realization is what makes today's news so heartbreaking. Katie Logan's role, a safe harbor in the storm. Katie may not even realize the magnitude of what Eric is considering. To her, this could feel like collaboration. To Eric, it would be sanctuary. Katie represents something Forrester Creations has lost: balance. By welcoming RJ, she wouldn't be stealing from the Forresters. She'd be preserving their soul. And that irony is devastating. The fallout could be permanent. If this move happens, the consequences will ripple through B&B. Ridge could see it as betrayal. Brooke could be torn between loyalty and heartbreak. Steffi might view it as a declaration of war. And Forrester Creations could lose its moral compass forever. Most tragically, the family may never fully heal. A very sad question with no easy answer. So will Eric Forrester take RJ with him to Katie's company? Right now, it feels heartbreakingly possible. Not because Eric wants to leave, but because he may feel he has no other choice. This isn't about ambition. It isn't about revenge. It's about a grandfather choosing love over legacy and paying the emotional price for it. As the bold and the beautiful moves forward, one thing is clear. If Eric walks away with RJ by his side, it won't be a victory, it will be a quiet inside the sleek glass walls of Forrester Creations. And today's very sad news is that the sparks flying through the fashion house aren't the kind that ignite creativity or passion. These sparks are sharp, volatile, and dangerous, charged with resentment, betrayal, and unspoken heartbreak. What should be a place of vision and legacy is rapidly becoming a battlefield, and the fallout could change the Forrester family forever. For weeks, tension has simmered beneath the surface at Forrester Creations. Lingering glances, clipped conversations, and sudden silences have hinted that something is deeply wrong. Now, the tension has erupted into open conflict, leaving everyone, from the design team to the boardroom, on edge. And at the center of it all are clashing loyalties, wounded pride, and a truth that may be too painful to face. A house divided. Forrester Creations has always been more than a business. It's a family legacy built on ambition, artistry, and generations of complicated relationships. But today, that legacy feels fragile. Sources inside the company say that disagreements over creative control have spiraled into something far more personal, with old wounds reopening and new grudges forming at lightning speed. What makes this moment especially heartbreaking is that the conflict isn't just about fashion lines or market strategy. It's about trust. Someone feels sidelined. Someone else feels betrayed. And everyone feels the weight of history pressing down on their shoulders. The design office, once alive with laughter and inspiration, now hums with unease. People are choosing sides, even if they won't say it out loud. Every meeting feels like a test. Every decision feels like a provocation. Sparks between passion and pain. Those close to the situation say the sparks flying at Forrester are fueled by two powerful forces: unresolved emotions and fierce ambition. When these collide, the result is rarely pretty. One key figure, long known for their fiery temper and uncompromising vision, has reportedly reached a breaking point. feeling unheard and undervalued. They've begun pushing back hard, challenging authority in ways that are impossible to ignore. Their passion, once admired, is now seen by some as reckless. By others, it's viewed as long overdue honesty. Across the room stands someone equally determined, someone who believes they're protecting the future of Forrester Creations, even if it means making painful choices. To them, this conflict isn't personal, it's necessary. But the lines between business and family have always been blurry at Forrester, and that's what makes this clash so devastating. When these two lock eyes, the air crackles. Words are measured, but the emotions behind them are explosive. One wrong sentence could trigger a fallout that no apology can fix. Broken trust behind closed doors. Perhaps the saddest part of today's news is the growing sense that trust has been broken in a way that can't easily be repaired. Whispers of secret meetings, withheld information, and decisions made without full transparency are circulating fast. Whether all of them are true almost doesn't matter anymore. The damage is already being done. Once trust is gone, even the smallest misunderstanding can feel like a betrayal. And at Forrester, misunderstandings are piling up. Some employees fear that personal vendettas are beginning to influence professional decisions. Others worry that the company's creative soul is being sacrificed in a power struggle. Longtime staff members, people who've weathered countless Forrester storms, are quietly asking the same question. Is this the beginning of the end of an era? Love, loyalty, and collateral damage. As always at Forrester, the professional chaos is bleeding into personal relationships. Sparks aren't just flying in the boardroom. They're flying in hearts that are already bruised. Romantic tensions are reportedly escalating, with feelings that were meant to stay hidden suddenly impossible to ignore. Love and rivalry are becoming dangerously intertwined, and the emotional collateral damage could be immense. When loyalty to a partner conflicts with loyalty to the family name, someone always loses. Friends are being forced into impossible positions. Do they speak up and risk alienation, or stay silent and betray their own conscience? These choices are tearing people apart from the inside. And then there are those watching from the sidelines, parents, siblings, mentors, who see the disaster coming but feel powerless to stop it. Their heartbreak is quiet but profound, rooted in the knowledge that sometimes love isn't enough to prevent destruction. A legacy on the line. Forrester Creations has survived scandals, betrayals, and near collapses before. But insiders say this moment feels different. The sparks flying now aren't just threatening one relationship or one collection. They're threatening the very identity of the company. If this conflict continues to escalate, the consequences could be severe. Resignations, public scandals, and a fractured leadership structure that competitors would be quick to exploit. The fashion world is watching, even if it pretends not to be. What makes today's news so sad is the sense of inevitability hanging in the air. Everyone can feel that something is about to snap. The question isn't if there will be a breaking point, it's who will be standing when the dust finally settles. Silence before the explosion. Right now, Forrester Creations is trapped in a tense silence. Meetings end without resolution. Conversations trail off unfinished. People avoid eye contact in the hallways. This is the calm before the storm, and it's perhaps the most painful part of all, because in that silence lives regret. Regret for words already spoken. Regret for apologies not yet offered. Regret for chances to choose understanding over pride. Some still hope that cooler heads will prevail, that someone will step forward, speak the hard truth, and pull the family back from the brink. But hope is fragile when egos are wounded and emotions run high. What happens next? As sparks continue to fly at Forrester, one thing is clear. Nothing will ever be quite the same again. Even if the immediate crisis is resolved, the scars will remain. Relationships will be altered. Trust will need time and genuine effort to rebuild. Today's very sad news isn't just about conflict. It's about watching something beautiful teeter on the edge of ruin. It's about the heartbreak of seeing passion turn into pain and legacy threatened by unresolved anger. Forrester Creations has always thrived on drama, but this time the cost feels unbearably high as the sparks grow brighter and more dangerous. All we can do is brace ourselves for the impact and hope that when the fire finally burns out, there's still something left worth saving. Creations is trapped in a tense silence. Meetings end without resolution. Conversations trail off unfinished. People avoid eye contact in the hallways. This is the calm before the storm, and it's perhaps the most painful part of all, because in that silence lives regret. Regret for words already spoken. Regret for apologies not yet offered. Regret for chances to choose understanding over pride. Some still hope that cooler heads will prevail, that someone will step forward, speak the hard truth, and pull the family back from the brink. But hope is fragile when egos are wounded and emotions run high. What happens next? As sparks continue to fly at Forrester, one thing is clear. Nothing will ever be quite the same again, even if the Angeles feels a little heavier today. For decades, the name Forrester wasn't just a brand. It was a symbol of elegance, a titan of industry, and the beating heart of a family saga that defined an era. But today, the headlines aren't about a new collection or a daring runway show. They are about the end of an era. The news that the sparks are flying at Forrester has taken a somber, literal, and metaphorical turn. What began as a house of dreams has, according to insiders and breaking reports, reached a point of no return. It's the kind of very sad news that stops you in your tracks, reminding us that even the most glittering empires are susceptible to the passage of time and the fragility of human legacy. A legacy stitched in gold. To understand why this news is vibrating through the cultural zeitgeist, we have to look at what Forrester represented. It wasn't just about the silk, the satin, or the high-stakes boardroom deals. It was about the people. The visionaries, the architects of the brand who believed that fashion could be a form of armor. The scandals, the romances and rivalries that made the boardroom feel like a battlefield. The craftsmanship, a commitment to beauty that felt increasingly rare in a world of fast fashion and disposable trends. For years, we watched as the family navigated the heights of success and the depths of personal despair. We saw them rebuild after fires, survive hostile takeovers, and mend broken hearts. But the current sparks flying aren't the sparks of inspiration. They're the sparks of a bridge burning, perhaps for the last time. The anatomy of the downfall. What led us to this tragic Tuesday? While the full details are still emerging, the very sad news seems to be a culmination of several internal and external pressures that finally reached a breaking point. The generational divide, the friction between the old guard, desperate to preserve tradition, and the new blood, eager to pivot into a digital-first world, created deep fractures. Economic shifting. The luxury market has changed. The exclusivity that Forrester thrived on became a cage in an era demanding accessibility and radical transparency. The personal toll. You cannot separate the business from the family. The recent health scares and interpersonal betrayals have finally drained the reservoir of resilience that kept the company afloat. It's not just a business closing its doors. It's a family losing its home. The sparks we see now are the dying embers of a fire that once warmed the entire industry. Industry analyst. Why this hits so hard? For many, Forrester was a constant. In a world that feels increasingly chaotic, we look to these established institutions for a sense of continuity. Seeing the sparks fly in such a destructive manner feels like a personal loss for the fans and followers who grew up with the brand. There is a profound sadness in watching something beautiful dismantle itself. It reminds us of the transience of success. One day you are the toast of the town, and the next, you are a cautionary tale whispered in the hallways of your competitors, looking toward the embers. As the dust settles on today's announcement, the question on everyone's lips is, what happens next? Is there a chance for a phoenix-like rise from these ashes? Or is this the definitive final chapter for the Forrester name? The very sad news suggests that the damage is deep, but the legacy is even deeper. Even if the building falls and the label fades, the influence of what was created there will remain stitched into the fabric of fashion, history, forever. We mourn today not just for a company, but for the end of a narrative that felt larger than life. The sparks may be flying, and the fire may be dimming, but the memories of the brilliance that once was will not be easily forgotten. The community reacts. The outpouring of grief on social media highlights just how much this means to the public. Hashtag Forrester Forever is trending, with users sharing their favorite moments and designs. Former employees are posting tributes to the magic that happened behind closed doors. Competitors are offering rare moments of silence and respect for a rival that pushed them to be better. It is a somber reminder that at the end of the day, we are all connected by the stories we tell and the legacies we leave behind. This is a developing story. As more information becomes available regarding the specific events at Forrester, we will continue to provide updates. For now, we sit with the weight of the very sad news and honor the sparks that once lit up the world.